Okay, well, that was not the smoothest intro mankind's ever seen. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. Anyway, Andrew, are you there?
I am there.
There we go. Okay, good. Something at least has gone appropriately. Anyway, hello, everybody. I'm Jordan, and we're joined by Andrew today.
Hello, everyone.
But managed to work out. Well, this is a disaster stream already, isn't it? So, in the same vein as last Tuesday, Andrew and I are going to be talking about something pretty damn serious. And this week, actually, I'm going to let you do the intro for it, considering you wrote it.
All right. Yeah, hello, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about cyber Corvid. This is something that the World Economic Forum has been warning about in their sort of predictive way, and they sort of describe it as like a computer virus that is like COVID, that goes everywhere, and they estimate that it would cause an estimated of 5% of devices to be completely inoperable, around 15% of devices to be wiped of all data, and requiring a total reinstall of their operating system. So it's going to be a serious thing if it happens. So I've written down a few things here of how we can minimize the impacts if it should occur. Now, like the previous stream, the things I've written down probably should be doing anyway. There's nothing here that's going to be so out there that it's going to be a waste of money. Now, with all of the recent censorship as a result of what happened on the 6th of January in America, I am starting to think that this might not happen or might be toned down should it be something that's planned and will to occur. Because it doesn't really make sense for them to go through all this censorship to try and lock everyone down from the internet, and then go ahead with this sort of with this virus. So, would you like to add anything more, John, before we get started?
I would. We were talking about this just as we got on air, and I've never thought of it before, but I think it's a bloody good point. As in the point that they may lessen the impact of cyber COVID because of the other things that they're doing, to be precise.
Yeah, I mean, everything is up in the air now. I don't think anyone could have really predicted what would have happened and the response to it all. And bear in mind, there's a lot of people involved in these companies, and while there's obviously some collusion between them, some backroom conversations, they're still human beings, and they're still
human
get
error.
This false sense of power. Yeah, human error. They'll overreach. So
it's a combination of human error, overreach, greed, miscommunications, and then because of the destructive nature of it, things aren't always going to go 100% to plan. So they have to create it at a scale that's wide enough where they can still have a little bit of freedom within it. So long as it moves towards a general direction, they don't really care.
Yeah, I suppose one thing they could do is if they've completely overreached and made an absolute mullocks of it, so everybody's recognizes that they've got a lot of power that they shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. They could do a cyber COVID in order to wipe the slate clean and to stop people from organizing against it.
Yeah, that'd be the most likely option. Especially when a lot of companies host their website on things like AWS and Azure. You know, if people start putting something out that they don't like being put out, but they can't target that site specifically, we'll just take that entire service down.
Yeah.
Or we start messing around with various bits and bobs to do with it.
Yeah. Well, they have got the whole Solar Winds toolkit that's been stolen. If you'd like to touch on that.
The Solar Winds thing, I don't entirely understand what it was. I thought it was just like server management, but seemingly not. It seemed to be something to do with hacking.
I think it was a cybersecurity, like a penetration testing sort of group where they create the weapons and then try and use them as a way of vaccinating a system against them, so to speak. So, and I think they those sort of cyber weapons of mass destruction got hacked, taken away. So they're
It's
now out
interesting,
there
and
in
it's
the
all
wild.
gone very, very quiet.
Well, they were used apparently by somebody or a group to hack the US Postal Office, some of the emails.
The US Justice Department.
Justice Department, yeah. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But it is a justification for for restrictions should they start being used and causing a lot of damage.
It was also used to
So
hack
whether they'll
into
call
the frozen
that
food company. I take it there's a slight delay between us.
I don't. I don't think so.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. No, I'm pretty certain it was also used to hack into the frozen food company, the name of which I've suddenly forgotten. I think it was something like Miracle or something like that. It was an enormous company.
What were they trying to do?
Asked a question. Is it true that Parler got hacked before they got removed? It wouldn't surprise me at all.
They have been hacked. I don't know if it was before or after they got removed, but I remember reading it today. Somebody with a name like Donkey. I wonder if I can pull it up now.
Oh, yeah, actually, seemingly this has happened today. Well, it's shortly before it was pulled down, rather. So I need you. And I need you. They get a Parler data breach. Hackers claim they downloaded everything from Parler before it was taken offline.
Yeah, there's a follow-up article if you're looking at the Russia Today one, and they didn't get all of the information, only the information that was actually publicly available, so the ones that were posted.
Right, so basically they just scraped through the website.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's not really a hack. They're playing fast and loose for that sort of term.
Yeah.
They had access to all unprocessed raw video files. What does that matter?
I think it might be just a way to further turn the screw on Parler, making it look like they're less secure than they might have actually been.
Hence why I do not like websites that request such information. Apparently I can't highlight it, but basically it says an independent hacker from Austria who goes by the name of whatever the hell he wants to. It was Donkey. There you go, Donkey. You did say it was Donkey, so that's fair enough. They disclosed on Monday that they had all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. It also included driver's license, where some users had verified their identity. The real question is, why would anybody upload their driver's license onto a website like that? You know it's going to be targeted for these things.
What for? Did they upload it for identification or?
Yeah, seemingly it's for verification. So basically, so they could get Parler's version of the little blue tick mark.
Well, I suppose people don't really think that it can be hacked or that they would be hacked. If you've not got the inclination to do it in the first place, then.
Sorry, I meant to bring it up on screen. I've been reading. Today my brain is in slow mode. Forgive me, please. But yeah, there you go. It was taken down, blah, blah, blah. Hackers do all that jazz. Here it is. It mentions attack by the driver's license. There you are. So yeah, I can understand why people have done it. Kind of.
What, uploaded it or hacked it?
Uploaded. I can kind of understand it, but not really. Also, breaking news. Hillman's back to being Hillman. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Right, shall we go on to the action points?
Oh, yes, please.
Right, so the first ones are going to be books, and I'll put ebooks and PDFs on that. So we've come to rely heavily on the internet as an easy source of information. And I think so much so that we end up forgetting about the information that we're trying to take in, but we know where to go to get it again. I don't know if you've had experience like that, Jordan.
Yeah. I think everybody has.
Yeah. Well, if the internet does go down, then we need to make sure that we have access to the information that we need. So the best way to do that is obviously books. I think ebooks and PDFs are good to start building up that library. But if this cyber COVID thingy happens and it does render devices bricked, then obviously they're going to be useless.
I think the best thing people could do is start off with PDFs and ebooks. Just find this information.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Find it. If you then come across something that's particularly useful, so for example, fiction books and what have you are wonderful stuff. But if you come across something that is a how-to guide on how to make clothing, for example, we actually found a couple of those ourselves. We found some pattern books. If you're interested in that sort of thing, print the things off. That way you at least have a physical copy. And while it may not be a book, it may be a bit janky, it at least works, it functions. It does what it needs to do. That way in an emergency, you've still got it.
Yeah, do it in stages so you can get that momentum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the next part is communications. Now, with thanks to Discord, the White Rose and Thorn website, and YouTube, DLive, etc., we've managed to create a fantastic community. The problem is, if the internet does go down, then all that will disappear, and we will end up as going back to isolated individuals. We'll be able to talk. We won't be able to share information. We'll be able to organise or anything like that. So, in order to counter that, we'll have to build up an offline network, and we'll obviously have to be doing this with people that we trust. So, phone number, so mobile phones and landlines are probably the easiest way to do that. Maybe having a dumb phone instead of a smartphone, or at least have a dumb phone put to one side just in case. If the internet goes down and it bricks your phone, at least with a dumb phone, it's a backup, and you can get them pretty cheap. Although I was looking, and apparently there might be, I think there's a resurgence of them. So,
I've heard that as well. I've heard a number of people are going out and buying them. The most famous person I can think of would be Dave Cull. I suppose Sticks as well, but does he really count because he never had a phone? I don't know. I'm not counting Sticks because he was just our man. He's behind the times, but in some remarkable way ahead of the times at the same time. But yeah, dumb phones, they're great things. Gab are bringing out a phone apparently. We've been looking into. I've heard a couple of things about that. It's not. I think it's in the early development stages as opposed to being properly done. But by the looks of it, they're actually making the physical phone, not just software. So that'd be interesting. I'm interested to see what they do.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, a number of us have been looking into the Linux phones as well. I'm quite interested in the idea of getting an old, like Samsung sort of thing, completely wiping it and then installing Linux onto it. I just don't know if that's possible with the mobile.
I think you can change the operating system. Isn't it called
Living
routing?
phones. I would imagine it is possible to do it. I see no reason why it isn't. A phone is basically just it's a computer that you hold in your hand. I see no reason why you wouldn't be able to do that. But who knows?
Well, it's worth a try.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it can only fail.
Yeah, and if it's a cheap old phone you've bought, then you're not risking a brand new one.
Well, exactly. You've not risked anything, especially if it's like an out of contract phone or something, or it's a few generations old.
Yeah.
A phone from 2012, for example, probably realistically you're not going to be using that anytime soon. So you might as well just give it a go. It can work, or it cannot work. Problem solved.
Yeah. I mean,
The Librem phones are the ones that I was trying to think.
I don't think I've heard of that.
You haven't been paying attention on Discord. Tisk. Well, no, that is definitely not the word I wanted.
Well, another possibility is amateur radio. Apparently, you need to take a test for that and pay £20 for a license. But it does sound pretty interesting.
I'd give it a go. It does sound. It sounds quite interesting. I agree. I'm kind of worried because I've looked at the test. It seems bloody complicated. Have you ever poked around with that?
No. I'm sure there'll be resources to try and help you take the test.
Oh, absolutely.
Courses and things.
Absolutely. If Trent's interested, we could put something together for that.
I don't know how much the actual radio itself would cost.
They vary in price, and it depends. Because obviously, if you've got one of the lower down licenses, you're not allowed to operate one of the more powerful things. So in a way, it's kind of self-pacing. You start off with the lowest level license, and I suppose you just kind of buy to the upper end of that because it is dealt with by you're limited by its power output. So if you stay within that, you stay within the bandwidth you're allowed, you can slowly go from there.
Oh yeah, I can just imagine having those radios and sort of recreating scenes from Hello Hello.
I'm trying to think of the name of the copper now. 1 minute.
Sergeant Crabtree.
That's it. Who'd be Crabtree? He's got to be me with a bad French accent, surely.
Yeah.
Good morning. Anyway, these are the details for that phone. The Librem. So yeah, if anybody's interested, I'm going to put a link to this in chat. I do not believe the links are going up to DLive, as they should be. No, it didn't go up to DLive. Sorry, DLive, you're screwed.
Can't you post them manually?
I'm not logged into the DLive account, so no.
Oh.
I know, that's bloody right. Anyway, as Piers Taylor says, yes, you can put Ubuntu Touch onto some mobile phones, which were released with Android installed. That is a good thing to know. I'm not surprised you can do it. Need to look more into that. I don't know about you. What do you actually use your phone for?
Nothing much, really.
Same here. We pay a lot of money for these phones. How many people actually use the phone for, anything important, basically? I would imagine, maybe not everybody, obviously, but a lot of people have a phone, a tablet, a computer / laptop. Why do we need this stupid little thing, especially now that we're not allowed outside of our own bloody homes? Why do we need to carry this little thing around with us to do everything when ultimately all we need is a little calculator and somewhere to make phone calls?
Yeah, go back to dumb phones.
Yeah. I think I might next iteration around.
Well, you can always buy a dumb phone and then just use that, but keep your smartphone just in case. That way, if you don't take to it or you decide that you actually need some of the things on the smartphone, you can go back to it.
That sounds like hard
rather
work.
than just getting rid of the smartphone.
That sounds like hard work. Keep them to the bloody things, Charles. Jesus Christ. Do you remember the good old days when you used to have a phone and 3 days later it would need charging? Oh, what wonderful times they were.
Yeah, rather than every day.
Yeah, multiple times a day sometimes.
Yeah, they haven't come far with batteries.
Batteries is the real sticking point for them. This is another reason I despise batteries. Just add them up.
Well, another thing is having a PO box or a mailbox address. They are similar. The PO box is obviously within a post office, and you get the actual address. There's PO box on it. Mailbox address is another sort, and that allows you to send post to a private safe within either the post office or the company, and you can either collect it yourself, or for an additional fee, it can be sent to your home address. And it's completely anonymous, so there is a security aspect there, but you are paid monthly for it, so that's the obvious downside.
Yeah, those costs add up very, very quickly, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is still a good option.
Especially if you're... Well, it's a tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, exactly. I think that isn't so much set it up now and then wait a couple of years and for it to happen. I think that's a keep in the back of your mind sort of thing. That way, if it looks like something is imminent, you can just kind of set it up, tell people it's there, be done with, and then wait. You may only need it for 3-4 months. It might calm down. You may think, okay, I'll get rid of it now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just the opportunity cost with the money. If you're having to spend, oh, God knows how much it'll end up being. But
I think it's like £7 a month.
See, I looked into them, and they seem to be a lot more than that.
They vary. It depends what you get, but if you hunt around, you can definitely find them for a reasonable amount. There are some out there that's just an insane price, but what you're getting for them is a lot more than any of us would ever need.
Yeah. So, you've got anything to add to the communications before I move on?
The smoke signals count. You got me as I was drinking tea. I didn't expect a question.
Got to keep you on your toes.
Yeah, well, I'm on them. Don't worry about that.
Let's carry a pigeon as well.
When it comes to communications, I think the most important thing to remember with things like Discord and Telegram and blah, 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 it doesn't matter how secure or unsecure they are. If you're just behaving like a normal person, they're going to be okay. You don't have terribly much to worry about if you're just, talking to people about normal stuff. If you're trying to instigate an insurrection, then yes, you may worry about using things like Discord and Twitter to do that. But the reality is, there's a pretty bloody good likelihood that nobody here is doing that.
Yeah, I think with what we're seeing in America, you have got normal people who are being censored just because they happen to vote a particular way.
I'll agree with the censorship. I didn't mean that. I meant people worried about other people hacking their accounts and finding out who they are and all that sort of stuff. It's a worry, obviously. But when people start getting antsy over things like Discord, right? Discord's a pain in the backside. Everybody acknowledges that. It's just kind of useful for what it is. But there's no reason to really worry about them doing anything. Unless you're a very, very large content creator, somebody such as Ice Age Farmer, who was kicked off of Discord, odds are you're going to fly under the radar just fine.
Yeah. It's a bit odd that he got kicked off. Considering his content, it's all about growing food and talking about food supply problems.
I agree. I don't understand how that happened. I would love to know their justification for it. unfortunately, their terms of services are going to be so bloody wide, it could have been anything at all. They could just say, oh, you were spreading misinformation about the vaccine, for example. And then when you actually look at what was said, first off, it wasn't misinformation. Secondly, it was one single post out of thousands. So it is what it is. These companies are not our friends. We all need to remember that. Don't get terribly attached to these things. Just be a little bit cautious when people are directing you around. For example, I've seen a couple of people mention Keybase. Bertie went and signed up to Keybase, and I did a little bit looking into them. They're owned by Zoom, which in and of itself isn't an issue, because then I did some looking into why they bought it, and seemingly the reason they bought it is because Zoom security is absolutely horrific, as we all know, because a couple of months ago they had somebody hacked into their systems and started playing porn over the top of people's corporate calls. But yes, they have horrific security, and seemingly they bought this company, Keybase, in order to improve their own security. They've not done anything with Keybase at all. And while that is probably okay, what that means is in time, the back end of Keybase will start to become outdated. There start to become security holes there. So it may be perfectly secure for now, maybe perfectly secure for the next couple of years, but eventually that crack is going to appear because they're not updating it. They're not doing anything with it. Yeah, I'm going to look into Keybase a bit more because it does look promising. It also looks very nice. So that's always a positive.
Yeah, I think we just got to look into everything and try everything. Try everything out and see what we gravitate to, and then maybe have a few on the back burner just in case.
Exactly. That's basically all Gilded is. I've said a couple of times on stream before, Gilded it's not something we're using at the moment. If anybody wants the link to it, just ask and we post that. But it exists and that's about it. When the time comes, when we're pushed off of Discord or pushed off of whatever, we'll get on with that. But as things stand, the odds of us getting pushed off of Discord are pretty damn low.
I hope not, because it's a fantastic little community we've got there.
I hope not as well, because it's lovely. I enjoy it a great deal. Also, talking Discord, just before we push that anymore, everybody who's on Discord, if you haven't been on there recently, please go on and just say that you've used your account, basically. Because as of, I think, Thursday, maybe, as of one day soon, we're going to be removing all the old accounts that aren't used. So yes, go on there, say hello, and all is good.
Right, I'll move on to the next point then.
Please do. Smooth segue.
So, stockpiling tools, craft materials, stationery, and replacement parts. So, there's a trend of more and more shops moving online, and we've become reliant on that, on these online shops at the expense of local shops. And especially in regards to all the lockdowns, a lot of these shops are just not allowed to open anywhere and will be going out of business, unfortunately. So getting all of the tools and craft materials that we think we're going to be needing, just in case we can't replace them, it would be a good idea, especially before a lockdown. Then it gives you something to do. So same is true with replacement parts, although depending on what they're for, that might not be feasible, but it's always good to have them if you can. Also, with if cyber COVID bricks our computers and we obviously can't use spreadsheets, Word, etc., then having a supply of stationery that you can write and draw on is also a good idea, and it's very cheap to do. So would you like to say anything else about that?
Yeah, have you ever found anywhere to buy cheap paper? I think it feels like one of those weird things that you don't actually see on sale.
The Works is a very good, very cheap place for stationery. That might be worth looking at.
Is that exactly? Why have I never heard of this?
You haven't heard of the Works?
No. I recognise the labels, kind of, but not really. Right, Mom, I'm going to pop this into chat. If somebody can pop the link for that onto D-Live for me, because I am unable to, I'd be greatly appreciated. It would be greatly appreciated, rather.
Yeah, the Works sell books as well, so there's quite a good selection for a very cheap price. Also, things like puzzles, airfix kits, if you're into that, all sorts of crafts and art supplies. So it's worth it checking out.
I love how you mentioned replacement parts. I'm trying to think what sort of replacement parts people would need. I think fuses are definitely one of those things. Like, how often does a bloody fuse go and then you don't have one, you have to go down to Tesco or wherever to go and get it? Things like fuses are things we should have anyway.
Light bulbs.
Light bulbs, yeah, absolutely. Especially if you have those stupid little, like, novelty-sized light bulbs. But any sort of, like, weird-shaped bulb that you find difficulty getting, definitely stock up on a couple of those.
I mean, there is certain replacement parts for your car that you could possibly stock up on, or at least buy an extra one. Things like air filters, but it might not be feasible, that.
No, I think things like car parts, you're kind of stocking up for not even a rainy day, but it would be too bulky, I would imagine. But there's no point in having a spare of everything on your car. If you don't have an engine, then it seizes.
Replacement engine.
Just tuck it away somewhere in the shed, it'll be fine. What other sort of things could people buy as spares? I'm trying to think of replacement parts.
Switches.
Things like USB. Yeah, I was just about to say, like switches, USB cables. I kind of want to say like a universal TV remote. Just in case one of your remotes goes and then you can't get another.
Plugs.
Or plugs, definitely. Chad, what do you think? What other sort of things? Yeah, wall charger, that's a good one. Will, do you mean the little charging port things that go into plug sockets? Or do you mean the actual plug itself? Would that count, do you reckon? Or we were thinking more of hard to get things that we can typically only buy online anyway? Or things that a lot of people rely to buy online?
It's always good to have a stockpile of them.
I'll agree, absolutely. Yeah, Piers is ahead of the game. He always has 2 solid state drives. And Will meant the wall adapter, by the way, everybody. There you go. I'll bring that up on screen. Batteries and a little solar charger. That's a good idea.
We'll come to that.
Oh, that's a good point. We are, aren't we?
On the list.
You know what? That's not a good idea. That can go away. There we go. Don't spoil anything. Son of a gun. I agree with screws. Screws is a good idea. Nails as well. Anything of that variety. Any sort of fixing. So glue could be another good one. Thinking glue isn't really something you buy online. I don't know. It's kind of tricky. I like the idea of having a couple of extra replacement parts around.
Yeah, are we ready to move on?
I think we are, yes.
All right. Entertainment. So the worst thing that could happen is the internet goes down and we're in tier 9000 lockdown. where demons stalk the earth and Lucifer is the prime minister. That's tier 9000. We'll head there, don't worry.
That'll be in June next year.
Yeah. Well, if that happens, we're gonna need some entertainment. because you can't just, work. You can't just stress out over it all. So cheap forms of entertainment, board games and fiction books. Has the chat got any other ideas of entertainment?
Well, we were talking about Warhammer before this started. Do you want to go into detail on
that? Yeah, it's very good for the art when you're painting them. You're building it up and painting them, so that's good for if you're on your own. If you've got other people there, you can obviously play the game. Sir Francis. Yeah, I mean, there's a game called Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress, which is good for if you live on your own. So you can play it on your own. You can also play it with other people if you live with there. So that's another option.
Cards is a great idea. You didn't mention cards, did you?
No. Again, if you got other players, then that's fantastic.
Hey, you can play solitaire by yourself. Have you ever played solitaire?
Only on the phone or computers.
Yeah, I've only ever played it. You ever played it on Windows XP? And that was mainly so you could get it across the screen. That was wonderful.
I've played Minesweeper.
That was good. I never got that as a kid. So you click around a whole lot and then suddenly, boom, for no apparent reason. I could never work it out. And it was only as an adult I managed to work out what the hell you meant to do.
I'm sure there's video guides on it.
There weren't any video guides back then. It was like the early 2000s. There were no video guides. YouTube wasn't a thing. I'm not sure. Then again, they may trade vodka. I'm not sure what you'd get off them. Depending on the sort, you could probably get quite a lot. Like, it's 3 months worth of food for one bottle of vodka.
Well, going back to the works with the art supplies, that'll be good for entertainment, and even the crafts as well. Leather crafting, whittling, things like that. That's a form of entertainment.
Absolutely, though. It's incredibly relaxing. And not only is it fun to make stuff, but it's just fun in general. I've genuinely missed it. I need to buy some wood in to get going again. Where's your leather crafting been going?
Well, I ain't got around to it, to be honest. I bought a load of leather.
I know you did. I thought you'd at least give sewing a go or something.
Well, I still need to figure out how to do that. I've got an idea of a little project that I'm going to try. Something a bit more interesting than practicing the techniques. So
you're going to be making a gun belt?
No.
You put your Nerf gun in it. That's all it will be.
No, a little pouch for some snips.
Snips?
So I'll give that a try.
The hell are snips?
Yeah, the little they're like where you put them in your fingers and they've got little blades and you cut stuff like
but fingernail trimmers.
No, not fingernail trimmers. They're called snips.
1 minute. I need to look at this up. Oh, those things. Okay.
What?
You mean like the little yellow one? Yeah, 1 minute. You mean the little yellow ones? 1 minute. I'm bringing this up. Don't worry, chat. I've
got one that's orange and one that's green. So.
But 1 minute. I just realised. There you go.
No, not them.
Not them. But this is what comes up when I put in snips. This is what I thought you were on about. The little wire cutters.
Now, if you go onto Johnson Seeds website, they'll have them there, and you'll. If you go onto microgreens, you'll see.
Okay. Just the bloody micrograde every time.
There, the little blue things. It says veritable.
These things?
Yeah. No, the other one. That.
Okay, that's... Okay, I can accept those being called snips. Don't worry, chat. I'm coming to save you with a picture.
What would you call them then?
Scissors.
They're not scissors.
What kind of scissors? Who uses them to cut food? Okay, they're not cutting food. They're cutting basil. Okay, that's better. I was almost tilted off the face of the planet. I thought someone was cutting up some bloody courgette or something with them. Jesus Christ, that was over. Chad, what would you call these? Would you call these snips? Is that rabbit? Yeah, I agree. This is rabbit food. Oh, 1 minute, scroll too far up. There you go. This is the rabbit food. Maintenance. There you go. Philomene has put the link in for works for me. Thank you for that, dear. Anyway, carry on.
I've lost where I was now.
Entertainment. We were talking about entertainment things we could entertain ourselves with away from the internet and computers. I'm really bad at this personally. I was saying to you just before we started, I thought that was a really good thing to add because it's something I continuously overlook. Apart from my whittling, I don't have anything to do away from a computer, which is a bad idea. It's made even worse by the fact these days most games are connected to Steam or some sort of cloud.
Yeah, and you have to be online to play them.
Exactly.
Well, if your computer gets bricked or your phone gets bricked, you can't do any of that anyway.
If my computer gets bricked, I'm going to cry. I'm gonna be a bawling, blubbering mess on the floor.
You'll have to whittle at your own, whittle a new one.
I'm gonna be extra sad because I spent, I think, about 4 hours replacing the power supply in it the other week. My fingers were so sore afterwards, so incredibly bloody sore. It's just a fiddly, annoying little case. I'm never getting this sort of case ever again.
What size case is it?
It's a proper full-sized case. It was just cable managed to hell and back. It was certainly cable managed in a way that I wouldn't have done it, but such is life.
You didn't build it yourself?
No, I will be building the next one, mainly because I'm definitely moving away from a traditional tower-style case and in towards like a server case, rack mount. I like rack mount things, exactly.
It's fun making your own, building your own computer. It's really rewarding when you press the button and it actually turns on.
How many have you built?
I've built one, and I have 100% success rate.
Quit while you're ahead. I've built out 3. For some reason, I didn't build that one. I have no idea why. I bought it. I probably shouldn't have. I kind of regretted it while doing it, but I just really wanted it to work. So, such is life. I don't regret it. Just is what it is. Another really good thing, a great little hobby people should definitely take up. Well, it's not even a hobby. It's a game. Bowls. Let me try and find a picture.
What, Crown Green?
Yeah, basically, yeah. I was actually thinking of the little ones, silver ones, which are known as Bosch.
Crown Green bowls is really good. That's fun to do.
Yeah, I was thinking of those ones, as opposed to traditional bowls, English bowls, just the little silvery ones. Copy link.
I've only played Crown Green once. I don't know about the other one. What's?
It's basically much the same. It's just with little silver balls as opposed to big ones. You can do it on a garden. You don't need it to be flat and all the rest of that. There's also things like horseshoes people could take up.
What, where you stick a thing in the stick a stick in the ground and then you throw a horseshoe at it?
Yeah. You know, once upon a time that would have been free entertainment. Now, you think how many horses there were around, losing shoes everywhere, left, right, and centre. Just go out of the morning, go pick one up and start playing, isn't it? Not quite that lucky nowadays, but you could probably still get them relatively easily from the stables. We got Patang. So I know it is bowls. Or bosh. Depends. It's French, but it's fun nonetheless. We won't hold it against it. Anyway, were there any more games or entertainment you want to add on to that?
No, that's it.
No, fair enough.
There's the last part now is electricity generation and lighting. So if the absolute worst case scenario is if the power supply goes down, either temporarily or for a longer period, at the very least, stocking up on candles, batteries, and having a working torch is, you probably should have that anyway, to be honest. But just making sure that you've got all that idea worth doing. If you can have alternate methods of generating electricity, that's going to be even better. I mean, a generator and a fuel stored away is not cheap. I'm looking at generators, they're about £1,000. But if you can, that's obviously going to be the best case scenario, to have that just stored away. Somebody mentioned solar panels. Solar. Do you remember it was solar?
It was a number of people who mentioned them. Piers definitely mentioned them.
What was it specifically?
Oh, you asking me? My memory, bloody hell. Basically, everyone should have a solar panel. That was the general gist of it.
Well, any alternate ways of generating electricity might be something we should be looking into anyway.
I agree. At the end of the day, these things are not just in case, you know, the cough takes over the world and everyone kicks the bucket. They're for little things, you know, like a bad winter storm, for example. It's so easy, especially if you're living somewhere remote. A tree goes down, it takes out a power line, and suddenly everywhere in the area is without power. Happens all the time. How often do you hear, especially during the winter, large sections of a city being taken offline from the water supply?
Oh yeah, I mean, just preparing for anything to happen, things like that is a good idea.
Exactly. It
I
doesn't mean
think
going
there
crazy.
is a limit, though. Yeah, there is a limit. Having a stockpile of food is a great idea until that stockpile of food it costs £10,000 and takes up the living room.
You know, when you've got 20 years supply worth of food, probably going to be okay. You don't need to add a 21st year.
So yeah, that's all I've got. I think
Steam. I'm so glad somebody brought up Steam. It's my favourite subject. We've been looking into Steam. We spent a good couple of streams looking into that. I'd really like to look into that good and proper. I think a Steam powered thing is definitely the way to go. That was the previous comment, by the way.
that might be interesting to look into.
Yeah, the solar system. I was thinking that. You must have read my mind. Hey, Piers, do you want to knock one of those together? Little industry overview of solar power things. the very least, I'm sure one of us could do it. I certainly can't because electricity and my brain simply do not mix. I'm one of those people. I can kind of. I have the confidence to put my hand to pretty much anything. Whether or not I'll be competent enough to do it, I have no idea. Electrics is the thing that just breaks me.
Well, I think one thing we could possibly add on to the list is Linux. Now, I don't know if going on to Linux rather than using Windows 10 would protect the device from any of this cyber COVID. That's why I haven't put it on, because I'm not knowledgeable enough to be able to say that. But the way that the World Economic Forum's article worded it did make it sound like it would this possible threat of cyber COVID would knock out a major operating system which sounds like Windows. So it might be something to consider doing.
I'd be surprised if they do knock something like Windows out. I would say that's just too large, and they're very, very comfortable with the idea that everybody's using it.
Yeah.
If they take Windows out, they're going to disperse people. People are then going to start taking up Linux. Or, Windows replacement number 3. They're going to start taking up various bits and bobs, which they don't entirely control. At the moment, they control Windows. That's good. They're content for everybody to stay there.
Yeah, it pushes people away from the closed source into open source.
Yeah, exactly. There's the last thing they want to do. If anything, they're going to be pushing people the other way. And no, I'm not opposed to having a car charger. I did see your previous joke. I thought it was quite amusing. It was basically that a car charger is extremely portable as opposed to a generator. Like, yes, it's in a vehicle. Ooh, what the hell's that one there? I would very much appreciate that. A great deal, actually. So that's the cyber COVID. I think now it's time to address the elephant in the room. Censorship. We've kind of touched upon it a little bit.
Before you get onto that, could you post the link to the article on the forum, please?
Absolutely, I can. I forgot about that. It's because you're organised and I'm not. Again, to be fair, everybody's organised in comparison to me. I just kind of blunder through life. What I'm going to do, I'm going to post the article link to both of them. Oops. Back we go. There we go. I've just popped the link into chat. It has not gone to DLive as per usual.
Yeah, Piers Taylor's. Can you highlight Piers Taylor's comments?
Which one?
It's talking about he's on Linux Mint. I'm just going to say that I'm on Linux Mint at the moment. It seems not to kick me off the internet midstream like Windows 10 does.
Although it did start having that weird noise earlier on.
Which one?
you know, the weird pinball machine noise. Do it again. When I first heard it, I thought you were playing a game. I really did. It just sounded like pinball or something along those lines.
No, it's the volume, and I can't seem to find out how I can turn that annoying beeping off.
It's okay. You don't touch it all that often.
Well, it's like the keytone on your phone. It drives you up the wall.
Who came up with that idea? Who wants it so every time you press a button on your bloody phone, it goes dit, 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 dit. I'm trying to work out if mine has the vibration. It does. Mine vibrates. Okay, I'll accept vibrating. Vibrating is reasonable. But actually making a sound while you type is just demonic.
Yeah, but I wonder what the point of it is. Because you're looking at the thing and you're pressing the button, so you know that you're pressing a button. You don't need it to further acknowledgement through
And you can
The
feel it.
annoying noise.
It's not exactly a surprise. Like, you can feel the vibration in your hand. So why the noise? It's bloody stupid. Anyway, the link to that is now in chat. The link to both of them, both food shortages and cyber COVID. You'll be glad to know that the food shortages did quite well on Gab as well last week.
No, that's good. Getting that information out there to people.
It is, slowly. I think people are just super bored and frustrated and black-pilled with the constant conversation about various things that we're not allowed to talk about. I think
everyone's frustrated about the all the censorship and all that, so they're going to something a bit more light-hearted, like starving to death.
I find it remarkable. As soon as that stream finished, I think it's certainly within an hour. I think it may have been within a couple of minutes. They announced that they were killing off a couple of thousand birds in France. And I saw that and thought, God damn it, they couldn't have announced that literally 20 minutes earlier. That would have been great. And then throughout the week, there's been this steady stream. Thousands upon thousands of birds being put down because of this bloody cyber COVID. Raw COVID, rather. Cyber COVID.
Yeah, when you see article after article around the world of all of these animals being killed, it's just horrific, and it really does drive it home to you that this is something that's happening, and this is going to have knock-on effects.
Oh, absolutely. When you've got the other thing as well, I wanted to bring this up. I don't remember the name of the farm. It was somewhere in the West Country. They had put down 4,000 hens because schools weren't open and schools weren't buying eggs. Like, what? Surely people are still buying eggs, whether or not they're buying them in school or not. This doesn't affect the food chain, surely.
You never know what to believe now. I mean, is there actually a bird flu going around? Or is this something that they're completely made up?
Who knows? There's no way to prove it, as far as I'm concerned. So I will grant that in India they had those, I think, 5,000 birds just drop down out of the sky. But that's also not super unusual. I remember it happened in Italy in the late 90s. I'm pretty certain it's happened somewhere around the Great Lakes. I don't remember if it was in the US or Canada, which side of the lakes it was on, but it's happened there within the past couple of years. Birds just suddenly dropping down out of the sky does happen. It's not. It is very unusual, but it's not. Like, it's not the flu, basically.
Maybe they were tired.
Yeah, well, all that flying, it must get to them, isn't it? If I remember rightly, it's caused by lightning, but like ball lightning in the sky. So they're just flying through. Suddenly, they've got some static, basically. And then they all get fired.
All right.
But yeah, it does happen. The way they're going through this, and then today they announced that we're going to be allowing the use of a banned pesticide which they know to kill bees and other pollinators. That's not a good thing to do.
I wonder what the rationale of that was.
The rationale of that is it's an emergency and we need sugar, which is kind of ironic considering these people are taxing sugar. So it's much like the cigarette tax. So they tax the living daylights out of tobacco, and then they say, oh, you shouldn't smoke. Meanwhile, they're probably not terribly concerned because they're making a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, they were a game. I can't remember what the game were called, but it was a sort of a politics game on Steam. And
do you mean Democracy?
Possibly.
Yeah, Democracy 1, 2, and 3.
You can move things around and set policies, and there's like knock-on effects.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of them was trying to ban smoking, and you realise that you tax things so much that it just completely wipes out people smoking. They just decide, yeah, we're not smoking anymore, and then you end up with no money because it's such a tax, such an income for the government. So yeah, there is that incentive to keep people smoking. So perhaps it's a similar sort of thing with the sugar.
Well, certainly it is. Yeah, there you go, Democracy 3. I haven't played Democracy 3, but I do remember playing Democracy 1 back in the day, and it was a great deal of fun. I would very much imagine 2 and 3 to be the same.
I think I might have played the first one. I don't know. I can't remember.
It's just fun, it's interesting. But yeah, I would very much imagine sugars have been much the same. They keep things like sugar around because if they don't, they're going to lose a lot of money.
Well, it's a really weird thing, all of this recent obesity restrictions or legislation that they've brought in, because the rationale for not putting any restrictions in previously have been that it'll cost jobs, which makes sense because of the amount of people that are employed by every aspect of the food industry. So regulations will have a knock-on effect there. So to now be bringing in some restrictions that they've completely avoided doing for years and years and years, it just seems a bit suspicious to me.
So you've always brought up an interesting one. I'm still not entirely convinced they're going to ban the sale of petrol and diesel cars in 2030. What do you reckon?
To be honest, I don't know. I think with the whole Great Reset, they want to stop us from being able to travel around. So I think what will probably happen is they'll just gradually increase the taxes until it's just not affordable anymore.
I agree, and this is definitely the way they're going to do it. This is why I've never, ever, ever got one of those stupid little black boxes they can put in your car.
Yeah.
Oh, it brings your insurance down. So, yeah, good for it. How about you don't charge me an arm and a bloody leg to begin with, and then we go from there. My first car insurance was 4 times more expensive than my car was worth.
What the heck?
Yeah, it was insane. Like, Jesus Christ. I wouldn't even mind. I started driving quite late. So I was over the age of 25 when I started driving. It was so expensive. I can't imagine how much it would have been if I was 18.
Yeah, I started at 18 and it weren't cheap.
I don't disagree about the gulags, it must be said. I think Birdie's got it dead on. I'm not sure they're going to ban it. I think they're going to backtrack. And then they're going to introduce carbon taxes. They're certainly going to do something. I can't imagine them just banning petrol cars. I really, really can't.
Well, there'll be a pushback, a massive pushback. They seem to like the boiling the frog approach. So, yeah, gradually increasing the taxes probably is the way that they'll do it. Although if there's no jobs to drive around to because of all the lockdown restrictions, it might be pretty easy to ban. There's no one will own them.
Babyface Nelson has just kind of nailed it again. There'd be no private property, as we well know. You won't own anything and you'll be happy for it. We've already covered this at length, mate. You're not telling us anything we don't know. We're just playing devil's advocate a little bit. Combined with the fact that I'm not entirely sure they're going to be able to carry it out. Though who knows? The way things are currently, 2030, that would be a blessed relief, I think. They're pushing a little bit harder than they were once upon a time.
No, I don't think they won't be able to carry it out. They'll try, but they won't succeed.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. I think these people are just pushing far too hard. They're pushing far too hard for their own good, and they haven't worked it out yet.
Yeah.
Like all this insane censorship, what do they really expect to achieve with it?
Well, I think they like the control. I think they really need that control. They don't want anybody to be talking about what's going on. So they're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing beyond what they need to push, and they're going to get a real shock when they realise what they've caused.
I agree. I don't think these people know I think it's a combination of multiple things, but I think the biggest issue is they look at things like Twitter and they believe it. And they kind of
Yeah.
work out that, okay, there's a little bit of a pushback. But when they look at their pushback, they look at people such as Sargon, who perfectly fine. I have no issues with Sargon. Carl's a decent person. But they look at him and they see that he's got a good audience, pretty much centrist, just wants to be left alone. And they leave it there. They don't think beyond that. They think that that everybody who doesn't agree with them is on his side. And then there's a tiny little fraction of people who are just outright crazies. They don't realize the likes of Carl is very, very much in tune with the average person. I bet if you was to take any of his videos, go along to your local pub or whatever and put it on the TV, people would sit there saying, yeah, well, I agree with him.
Yeah. Well, I think these crazes, they're not really in power, but they're sort of virtue signaling to that power. They end up doing more good to us than harm, because they show people the sort of the logical conclusion of it all.
Exactly. They just go so insane. So insane. They go so overboard. People look at it and think, no.
So, if anything that can provoke them to go in even further and really showing what their thoughts are is a positive, because it's just going to put people off, and it's going to really wake a lot of people up to what the system, what the establishment, or whatever you want to call it, what their actual thoughts are.
Mm-hmm. I agree. This is why I'm not, even though I'm a little bit blackpilled with what's going on at the moment, I'm kind of blackpilled by my standards. I'm still perfectly fine. Some people, when they get blackpilled, they get really blackpilled and nigh on suicidal. So I'm definitely not one of those people. People need to recognize that in order for that to happen, for normal people to see what these people are actually like, it does have to get worse. And not to worry about it too much. Just kind of accept it. Like, it is what it is. Just kind of grin and bear it. Try and do your best, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, it will have to get worse for people to realize what's happening. But I don't think the vast majority of people, normal people, are going to do anything about it. And I think it's up to us. But by waking more normal people up, they're at least going to be on our side. They'll be cheering for us, and they won't stand in our way, so to speak.
That's the most important thing,
I think
is
people,
making sure you don't do anything to put them in front of you as well.
Yeah. I think trying to wake these people, normal people, up with the expectation that they're going to basically join you side by side and become active, politically at least, is a mistake, because the vast majority of people don't do that. They're just not interested, or they just don't understand it. And that's fine. Not everyone has to be political.
Absolutely. I think you can touch upon something there. It's really important that we realize we don't need everybody to be on board. We just need them to understand that the current establishment are definitely the people who are in the wrong. For whatever reason, you can blame it on the European Union thing. You can blame it on various absurd laws that they've passed over the years. You can blame it on COVID and all of that. Doesn't matter. You just need to get these people to realize that the government is not their friend, and that there is definitely a better way to go about things.
Well, that's the first part. The second part is, once they understand that the government is not their friend, is to sort of weaponize them against this whole world system, or whatever you want to call it. And by weaponize, I mean things like signing petitions. Perhaps that's something they can do, maybe writing to their MPs. Probably not something you should expect from most people. It can be voting a particular way. It can even be something as simple as spending the money in businesses owned by us versus something like Amazon or a supermarket. If we can get to that stage where people, instead of going to, I don't know, Morrison's or Sainsbury's or whatever, instead they go to the local butchers, the local greengrocers. I mean, that is weaponizing normal people against this whole international businesses and supporting the local businesses, local people. You can get people to do that, you're really in a good position.
Absolutely. And people want to do it as well. You know, nobody likes Tesco. Nobody likes these companies. Nobody's ever thought, oh, Tesco, what an amazing company. What fantastic quality food they provide. People go to Tesco and the likes because they're cheaper. And that's perfectly fine. But if we can spin the story for other things, for local businesses, and we can help push their prices down, suddenly what does Tesco actually have? So, okay, you can buy 3-month-old potatoes, which are half bad from us, and they're going to be 5 pence cheaper than you're going to get them at your local farmer's shop. That's not a very attractive proposition, really, is it?
Well, it's cheaper and more convenient because you can get everything that you need, all your fruit, veg, fish, meat, and then your cleaning stuff, your laundry, your toiletries, all that sort of stuff in one go. So there is that as well. But what you don't get typically, especially in the bigger supermarkets, is that sense of community. When you go to your local butcher and you know him by name, and he can say, oh, you want this? I know you like this lamb. How about you try it this way? They cook it this way. Or what do you want? Oh, I want, you explain to them what sort of meal you want to make, and they'll give you that. They'll give you their expert knowledge on how to achieve that, and you build up that rapport. They ask about your kids, all this sort of thing, and that's what I think we should be getting back to.
Absolutely, the human connection.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna do this because of the human connection, because we're actually a friendly bunch of people. Meanwhile, International Corporation Number 6 that owns, Morrison's or whatever, they're not. You may like one of the shop girls in there, but make no mistake about it, as soon as she gets a better job, she's out of there because she can't bloody stand it either.
Yeah.
Nobody likes these shops. We have a lot of advantages on our side. The fact that we're actual human beings, it does help a great deal.
And it's better quality as well when you go to a local butcher's.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like a completely different animal, a completely different. It's bonkers. You have you go to a supermarket and you get pork chops, and that's all you know, and you just think it's awful. Then you go to a butcher's and you order pork chops and you try it out, and it's just mind blowing. So it's that offering that higher quality as well, on top of all of the social aspects, the community aspects. So we've definitely got that to as our strengths. Mm-hmm. It's just the problem is the cost. It's more expensive.
That is unfortunately the issue we have. I'm going to get onto 2 questions. Nico, mate, I've just popped the link to our, what the hell is it called? The Community Restoration Plan. There you go. Sorry. The Community Restoration Plan is how we're going to start getting normal people on board. It's basically going out, talking to people, and, as Andrew and I were just saying, being an actual human being. I understand that certain people live in places where that's not possible for one reason or another. They're surrounded by people who don't think our way. They're surrounded by, in my case, for example, I'm not surrounded by people at all. I'm surrounded by cows and wheat. I don't have the luxury of walking out of my door and talking to a neighbour. I already do talk to one of my 2 neighbours. The other one, I'm not interested in talking to at all. As probably many of you people are as well, if you live in towns and that. The second question. Do you want to explain who you are, Andrew?
Well, I'm just hello. I'm Andrew. I'm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hello,
I've
Andrew.
thrown my lot in with the Joe and Jordan because I believe what they, I believe in the sort of vision, and I think we can just do amazing things. So, yeah, not really much to say. I don't have a channel. No, I didn't really plan on getting involved in anything, to be honest. When I was dragged back into this, thanks to that Edward Colston statue being torn down. But yeah, listening to This Is Why We Fight, I just sounds like an online dating profile.
God, that was hilarious. Where was the other thing I wanted to highlight? There was something else.
I was just going to say, it sounds like Dangerfield sending people over here, so thanks to Dangerfield.
It does. Thank you for that, Chris. Well, there was a comment. There we go. Pierce's comment. I could remember it, but I just wanted to bring it up on screen. Do you remember the name of that hymn? It's Jerusalem, isn't it?
I'm going to say yes. It's something I'll have to search online. I don't know.
My issue with Jerusalem, I've heard it so many bloody times from the cricket. It is Jerusalem, yeah. Good. I've heard it so many times, I just tune it out. I don't know about anybody else who listens or watches cricket, but you hear it so many times, it just becomes background noise, frankly. It is a lovely tune, though.
I've definitely heard it, but I can't remember it. It doesn't come to mind.
That one.
Isn't that I Vow to Thee, My Country?
No. Was my rendition that bad?
They've all merged into one.
Hove is over. Well, there you go, chat. Now you understand why I don't sing or hum or much of anything else. I'm not a musical person. So yeah, that was cyber COVID and everything around cyber COVID. I stand by the fact I think cyber COVID is just one tentacle out of this horrible octopus that they're trying to strangle us with.
Yeah, I think that this is the time that they're going to try anything and everything. They're going to go bonkers. And this is going to be to our advantage. So I don't think I know all the bad things are happening, and I think it's best not to get caught up in the details of it all, and just keep our heads down, build ourselves up, and try and focus on building up some communities. If you can get some businesses going, that'd be fantastic. I think that's the way to go, because ultimately we do not have control over the policies of our countries or the actions of these massive corporations. So pay attention to it, but just don't let it get on top of you, and focus on what you can control.
I fully agree.
We'll be fine. We'll definitely win this. There's no doubt about that. We'll win. It's just going to be very, very interesting, a bit turbulent over the next few years.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we have the incredible opportunity of being the heroes for the next millennia, basically.
Well, we get to create the sort of society that we actually want to live in.
Exactly.
Over time, of course. So, and we can take ideas from the past and different ideologies and all that, but we have the opportunity to really create something completely new and something that fits the 21st century. But as long as it goes along with human nature and doesn't revolt against it, then I think we'll be fine.
I fully agree. I couldn't have said that any better myself. You'd have made Joe proud with that one.
I'm just excited to see what we can actually achieve.
So am I. I really am genuinely excited for this year. The start of this year has been bloody awful. I've not been in the world's greatest mood, as people may have been able to tell. I've certainly gone on a few more rants, especially in private, a few more rants than I've ever gone on before. It's just frustration on my part because we've been stuck trying to do something for a while now and we haven't been making any headway. So you combine that with the fact that we're then pretty damn limited with what we can and cannot, or what we can say on stream. Not limited on what we can't say, but they've got a list as long as your bloody arm on that. I mean, you combine that with the fact that it's that weird after Christmas period where everything is kind of a bit mangy, a bit depressing. For me personally, it's been incredibly foggy. I was telling you about that last night. It's been a weird sort of thing. Yes, we are still linking to Discord, Bertie, by all means. How much land do I have? I have a garden. Unfortunately for me, I don't have my neighbour's garden. My neighbour has an enormous garden. You could definitely grow all the food you could possibly want out there for a normal-sized family, like 4 or 5 people, easily. Unfortunately, I'm not in that position. I am going to be taking up growing myself. I was thinking of doing potatoes this year. I'm not a massive fan of potatoes, so that may change as we get closer to the growing period. For anybody who's interested, we also have a little growing thing. I'm just going to send a link to the library instead. We have a little gardening, growing timetable.
Why are you planning on growing potatoes if you don't like them that much?
Basically, just storage. And I eat them. I'm not a massive fan of them, but I'll eat them. So if needs be, having a couple £100 worth of potatoes is going to be a pretty decent thing, isn't it?
Well, not if you don't like them.
Well, no, but you can make do. You can make tons of stews with those. You'll be fine.
You'll be sick of them.
Well, yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm kind of sick of them already. Just after having them a couple of times over Christmas.
Well, maybe you grow something that you actually like and get excited about. Do you like carrots?
I do indeed.
We'll try some rainbow carrots or something that you don't normally get in a supermarket.
I'm going to be growing a lot of tomatoes.
Then you get excited about trying them.
I'm going to be growing a lot of tomatoes. I'd like to give my hand at onions and that, garlic. I need to look into companion planting. Do you know much about companion planting?
I've heard of it, but it's not something I've looked into.
Companion planting is basically, I'm trying to remember the most famous example. They call them the Three Sisters. I can't remember what bloody hell they are, but basically it is, it's like a pumpkin / squash, beans and something else. And you plant them together and they kind of grow together and they do quite nicely. They all feed into each other because one fixes nitrogen into soil, the other one pulls it out, and blah, blah, blah.
I'm just reading comments.
Oh, so am I.
Yeah, carrots.
I know. They're everywhere, mate. You can't get rid of them. Green beans are very easy to grow. They're also very, very lovely. I love peas and beans. I might actually grow a whole bunch of beans and just store them. I love beans. I truly despise beetroot. Just with an ungodly passion, I hate beetroot.
I've got some beetroot out on the seed sprouter at the moment. Flipping heck, it's taking ages. Absolutely ages. I plonked them in there on the last day of 2020, and I think I've only seen 2 of them. They look odd. They're like these purple worm things, and they've got like these the leaves are just really small and odd at the moment. I've got 2 of them like that, and the rest of them are just little tendrils of purple, and yeah, they don't seem to be doing much. So I hope I like them. I hope they're worth all the effort.
Well, if nothing else, you can transplant them and you can get proper sized ones.
Well, I've got nowhere to transplant them at the moment.
Get some tiny little pots. What you need to do, I was bloody lucky years and years and years and years and years ago. Cool. Actually, it must have been about 15 odd years ago now, actually, yeah. My parents were going into Morrison's one day and they were selling off a bunch of their like little flower pot things. You know, like when you walk into a supermarket, they have the bunches of flowers. And they were in those little black pot things. For whatever reason, they were selling a whole bunch of those off for 50 pence. They bought them, still gone. They're still going just fine. These things, they've been outside through all weathers. They've been grown in many, many times over. And they're going great guns. If you ever come across something like that, just buy them. Buy them all. They're not going to be very expensive. You're going to use them year after year after year. And they're incredibly bloody tough. I've trod on them a number of times. The answer to this question, by the way, is both. But I'll probably grow a lot of runner beans. There's too much beetroot love going on in chat. I don't approve of this nonsense. Oh, yeah, absolutely. They grow wonders here. They love it. Especially if you have a greenhouse. If you have a greenhouse, they go absolutely berserk. But failing that, they just grow well anyway. I don't know if you've had any luck growing them. That's for you, Andrew, not Piers.
All right, well.
Sorry. When that sentence left my mouth, I was thinking, is he going to pick up on that or not? I said, no, he's not going. God damn it.
No, I hadn't grown any tomatoes.
Oh, you should.
I've just got my chives, my basil, and my parsley going.
You can't go wrong with chives.
Well, I've put some chives in I've made some chicken soup with the carcass. I've used some chives in that, so we'll see if that tastes acceptable or not. Thought I'd try it.
Yeah, you might as well give it a go. It should work just fine. What a fantastic name for a pea. Made in Cornwall says, ask for the black buckets at supermarkets. They throw them away. This is also a fragrant lie. From everything I've heard about Australian summers, it is not like southern Italy. It is like the sun. Oh, don't get me going on this. This mask mandate, which we're not allowed to talk about. Or are we allowed to talk about it? I have no idea. YouTube's terms of service for that is getting bloody confusing. It's like, don't contradict whatever the WHO says. Well, okay, this is an article from the WHO and you don't like it because it says something that disagrees with something else that the WHO have said.
What about if you got an exemption?
Oh, no, they're okay. Apparently, they're just fine. They're bloody...
Well, what we need to do is we need to have, like, I don't know, 10 or 20 people all go into the same supermarket wearing hazmat suits.
I've said that before. Nick said that months ago. I thought it was a hilarious idea. Problem is, they'd probably nick you for something along the lines of causing a panic, causing a public panic. Johnny Not Power says he wore a mask for his local Tesco's, so I kept bumping into things. I don't know why that's so damn good. Simon Tavern, if you're in England anyway, what you could do is take a look at the planting guide. The planting guide is an incredibly useful thing. It's the planting timetable. Sorry, not planting guide. It's an incredibly useful thing. I was delaying making it, and then one day I just sat down and knocked it out. It is a little spreadsheet, so you can go download it, and then you can do whatever you need to do. You can click around, and you can work out what you want to eat and what you don't want to eat, and when you should plant it and when you should harvest it, and all the rest of that sort of stuff. Now, that is an incredible lie. When you go into supermarkets these days, they give you the little mask and you have to take it. Anyway, yeah, that was cyber COVID. Have you covered everything you wanted to cover?
Yeah.
I have as well. I thought it was a damn good stream. We need to have a proper one on censorship one day. What was the next stream you had planned?
I think, well, if you have one on censorship, it probably end up getting banned.
Probably would, which is an incredible irony.
But the next one I'm going to be doing is financial threats.
That sounds bloody interesting. I'm really interested in this one.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to get it done.
I bet it has. How much more information do you want to get for it?
It's really just gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies. Is the last part of it, the last section of the whole of it. So it shouldn't take me. I'll get it done this week.
But gold and silver is nice and easy, at least. You know, just go buy it. Go buy it. Go prospecting. Go find it somewhere. I was looking into how the old currency used to work, like before decimalization. Bloody confusing stuff, but I'm not sure why none of the cryptocurrencies have taken on that sort of approach, because it seems kind of ideal for what they're doing.
Well, there is a fantastic series on YouTube called The Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney. That I would definitely recommend that to everybody who wants to know more about this. They're split up into I think it's 25-minute segments. But they're just mind-blowing. They're really well done.
I'm finding a link. Keep picking it up.
Well, he goes into the history of it all and explains the difference between currency and money, which is actually a different thing. It's absolutely great, and yeah, definitely recommend it. Have you found it?
I have indeed. There you go. I've just popped that into chat. I have to say, he looks like a gangster with that hat.
I thought he looked like somebody off, like an archaeologist, something off.
He does. He does. He also remarkably, he looks like someone out of a Fallout game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Anyway, I'll watch that geezer later on. What I'm going to do is I am going to send myself a link shortly. There we go. Finally, there you go. I'm going to send myself a link, and then I'm going to watch it later on.
He also goes into how the economy works, although it is America-centric. I'm sure there will be some crossovers to at least some extent. Towards
absolutely. He's not Bugsy Malone. He does look it with that hat. So yeah, that was cyber COVID. I have a feeling we're going to be coming back to cyber COVID at some stage of this year, if not multiple times.
Well, when the internet goes down and we have to do a stream using carrier pigeon.
Ironically, that when we're talking to each other via the PO boxes. You know, when we're talking to each other via those things. Yeah, if that was everything, I'm good to wrap up. How are you?
Yeah.
Dead on. Chat. What are we doing this evening? Probably the pub again, as usual. What do you reckon, pub? Do we have someone in the reading room?
Oh, I don't know if anyone's in the reading room.
Go find out. What are Joe and I doing tomorrow? I've forgotten. I haven't forgotten, actually. I've just remembered what we're doing. Tomorrow's stream, we are ragging on. Even though tomorrow's normally the community stream, we're going to keep it community-based. We are definitely going to be bringing up the food parcel nonsense, which has irritated me to no end earlier this morning. Have you seen anything about that yet?
What was this?
Do you remember the Marcus Rashford free school meals thing?
No.
Okay, well, basically, Rashford, he had this thing. He wanted free school meals and various other bits and bobs. I don't know. I'm going to look into a little bit more what he wanted. But today it came to fruition. They actually started sending food parcels out to families to feed their children and what have you. People who are far below the poverty line. These wretched little creatures, they're given a budget of about 30 quid per child for X number of days. I'm not sure how many. I agree with that. Dreadful does not even begin to cover it, mate. It's an absolute disgusting, disgraceful embarrassment. They're given a set budget, and they have somehow managed to spend probably about 4 quid out of this 30 quid on food. And it included things like 1 slice of ham, a tin of baked beans, a couple of bananas, a loaf of bread. It just absolutely disgusting. The amount of profiteering that's gone on with that is insane. As I said, they've probably spent less than £4 to come up with this. They've kept the other 26 as profit.
So is this a government scheme then?
Yes, it is. This is taxpayer money.
So it's like the PPE corruption done on food this time.
I think it may actually be worse. When you take into account the percentage of it, I think it may actually be worse.
Well, I suppose if they've got away with the PPE stuff and that how blatant that was,
yep,
why not try it with everything else?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think it is. I agree, mate. I don't disagree at all. The other aspect is, why is it that it just doesn't make any sense? Because you're a child for, 20 years, let's say. And then you're paying taxes to pay for those 20 years where you had a couple of free things for the next 60 odd years of your life. So, yeah. Anyway, that is all for tonight. Tomorrow, Joe and I are going to be going into more detail on that. As everyone can tell, Joe's been away this evening. We've been busy all afternoon. And she needed to get a couple of things done. So that's perfectly fine by me. Andrew, thank you for joining me.
Yep, thank you. All good.
Yeah, you did bloody well, mate. I will see everybody over on the pub.